Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I'm your host Orange Zeppelin and today we are doing, I missed entirely, we're doing another Art Snacks video. This is our November Art Snacks box. Let's pop this open and pretend like I dropped my thing on the floor. This video is a mess already. Alright, here's our menu that I just accidentally threw on the floor. And this month, I just noticed the joke. I usually don't read the jokes, I just go straight into the materials. But the joke this month, where does a pencil sharpener keep its money? In a shavings account. Well, that's probably why I don't read the jokes. Okay, let's get on to our surprises, our goodies in this month's box. And this one, there's actually a couple of things that weren't wrapped up. We have, first of all, we have the Amsterdam acrylic ink. This is in oxide black. This is a highly pigmented and Amsterdam ink is highly pigmented and versatile. It can be thickly applied like acrylic paint or thinned with water. So this is going to be an interesting thing to work with because the goes on thick or can be thinned. That's some of the qualities that I really like in gouache. So that'll be interesting to experiment with. We also have our watermelon airheads. And as with the usual practice, my mom and I always kind of like cut the side open and peek in. So it doesn't completely look like we busted the thing open for the video, but we do like to see what is in here as soon as we get it. And we have... oh, here's our sticker. I like the colors on that. That is cool. Here's our sticker. We have the Princeton Velvet Touch Series 3950 synthetic brush, stroke 1/4, whatever all those things mean. It is a nice soft brush. The description says, paint in the lap of luxury with the Princeton Velvet Touch brush. Its silky, soft finished wood handle complements the high quality synthetic fibers made to outperform natural hair. So this will be perfect with our acrylic ink, which they even suggest doing that with the acrylic ink. We have the, I am gonna butcher those words, the Caran d'Ache Supercolor Soft Aquarelle Pencil, and we have this in Scarlet. I'm assuming that with a lot of these boxes, sometimes the colors you get will be random based off of the box, so I got the Scarlet, but other people might have gotten different colors. This one is also a staff favorite. And let's see, this one is a water-soluble colored pencil, which I have been enjoying things like this quite a bit. I really liked the water-soluble graphite, like tinted graphite that we got in a previous box. And then we have the Plumchester 1.5 fine brush pen. This one is an Art Snacks exclusive. This one... oh yeah, I'm looking forward to this. 1.5, or maybe it's 0.5. That's the size I like a lot. But this looks like a good size. And this is described as having a soft and flexible tip. So I'm hoping that this has that nice springy texture to it. But we will find out when we do the swatching. Alright, so I have some paper out. I got a little bit of water. Let's start doing some experimentation. I'm going to start by putting this brush in my water, getting it a little bit saturated, and let's open up our ink. which I gave this a little shake before starting the video. I'm going to shake it again because I'm like that. Okay. So let's take a look here. Let's start. Oh, wow. I don't know how well you can see, but it is like a very... It looks really, really thick. So that explains why they were calling it, well, acrylic ink and saying it can go on really thick. So let's actually start out just with the dropper. We're going to see what happens here. That is pretty cool. It's like a nice solid black. That's a little bubbly. I'm squeezing a bit. Let's see. So that is just the ink going on straight. Let's take a look what happens when we're going to thin this out. Let's see. I am going to just pull down a bit from here. There we go. I like that ink a lot. I am enjoying the experiments I've done more recently with ink and ink washes. Inktober was super successful for me. I just posted my Inktober roundup video, and there were a lot of materials that I hadn't worked with for a while or just didn't have a lot of success with in the past that ended up just working out really well for me this time around. I feel like, I don't know if the dropper is supposed to be this really weird shape or if it just got crooked at some point. I don't know. Maybe there is a science to this that I'm not understanding. All right, let's dip straight in, brush off the excess, and let's just take a look at how this is behaving when I go on with the brush. Yeah, this is going to be fun to experiment with. Let's see. Let's get my brush a little more wet. Let's see if I can dilute. I already have down a little bit. Mostly I just think working with ink is fun. It can be tricky to get used to. You kind of need to expect weird things to happen, but it is really fun. Let's see if we can just... I might be just making a giant mess. I think I just need to get a little more on my brush. We're gonna do some splattering and make a giant mess. This is how I like to do splattering effects. It just, I get the brush a little wet enough and then start flicking it with my finger. Let's clean that up a little bit. Oh God, that's the opposite of getting cleaned up. That's completely the opposite of getting cleaned up. I told you this episode was a disaster. Oh my goodness. Okay, try to wipe that up didn't work either. Okay, I'm going to turn the paper around when I swatch everything else because I'm left-handed and you know I'm going to put my arm directly into that. Okay, so I'm going to put the lid back on our ink because you know that I'm going to spill it next. And then we're going to maybe put it in the bag and put it in the box. And we're going to just put it off to the side because I feel like I'm going to knock everything over. Maybe I should move my water out of the way too. Okay, but let's also continue with our ink and we're going to check out this pen. So you can see what a huge mess is everywhere. I am using the paper that came out of the Art Snacks ink collection, so it should hold up pretty well. Any kind of using a lot of water, you do want to maybe tape your paper down so you don't have a lot of buckling. So if I want to work with a lot of ink for my completed piece in this episode, I'm probably going to want to tape my paper down, but we won't have to worry about that with the pen. Let's check it out. Oh, there we go. That is not exactly the texture I was expecting, but it does have the springiness. It's, actually, what does it say about the material? Is it like a nylon tip that has the, like, the springiness to it? It's hard to describe. There is a very particular kind of brush tip that is really satisfying to work with. Let's see. Let's try to write a little smaller, which I'm not very good at. It's taken me a lot to get as good as I am currently at handwriting. I had to do a lot of practice because I do a lot of handwriting on my comics, and my handwriting for a long time has been really crappy. So I did make a very conscious effort to actually make a slower, there we go, a nice slower stroke gives you a more unbroken line, whereas the really fast one ends up a little more feathery. That is something you can always use to your advantage if you want to have a little bit of texture with your line art, but I like this pen. It wouldn't be good for large areas of solid black, but that is what the ink would be excellent for. So now let us take a look at our pencil. And this is, of course, water soluble. I don't think I mentioned, but this was specifically said to be waterproof, so that works out perfectly. We've got two different water soluble materials, and then we have something that's waterproof, so I think that would be, that's something we could work on top of. That's something that could be used once everything else, and that could be used for adding the finishing pieces, that is. Let's take a look at our red that has a good smooth texture. This is actually really similar to, I don't remember which month's box it was, but the one where I did the Dracula piece. I remember that there was a couple of water-soluble pencils, a couple of watercolor pencils, and there was a pen, and it was in like the black and red color scheme. And then that kind of happened last month too. There was there the fine liner, and then maybe the, I'm just sitting here scribbling randomly while I'm talking, but there was the mechanical pencil, I believe, and then there was a black and pink marker. So this color scheme has shown up a lot, which I'm not complaining because this is a color scheme that I like to work with. It's just right now I'm looking at this and thinking, can I get away with drawing Dracula again? I already did that. So I might have an idea for what I want to do. There we go. You can get like a nice, see, I should have done the splattering with this color. Wait, hold on. Can I actually splatter this? That might be a little more difficult. Oh, here we go. We got some red splatters. Little bit. It's easier to do. Actually, can I use the shape of the end of this brush to my advantage? I don't know. Maybe. But I definitely like, this is like turning into a weird cartoon horse. I don't know if you guys are seeing what I'm seeing here. It's very round head. This is like the more cursed member of the My Little Pony cast. It's the one they don't talk about. Alright, so this is gonna be fun to experiment. I gotta come up with an idea of what I'm gonna paint. I'm gonna eat my airhead in that time, and I will be back in a bit. Alright, I am back, and the answer think should have been a lot more obvious to me than it was. But we're gonna draw Lobo, which I love. Lobo, he is very badass and he is fun to draw, and that is why we're gonna draw him today. He is the perfect color scheme. Mostly a lot of black, white, and red. Sometimes he's drawn a little more blue. His skin tone is drawn a little more blue. In the Lobo comic I have right here, he's more white. I have glare right on this comic. Let me just hold it over there, and then you can hopefully see it better. Also, this is the comic in which Santa meets a grisly end. This is Lobo's paramilitary Christmas special. I might show this comic off in a later comic review, hint, hint. But I have it over here for inspiration. I like this pose that I drew here. I did a couple little sketches trying to decide what exactly I wanted to do, and I wanted to do something with a little more energy. Something where his mouth was open so I could get some red just from his tongue, and then that would let me use a little more of the red colored pencil. But let's get to sketching, and I will be using the what brand is this? I'm gonna be using this. Eventually this is gonna focus. This whole episode is a disaster. Oh my goodness. I shouldn't say that. There's plenty more ways this could go wrong, but I'm gonna be using this mechanical pencil that I got from a previous Art Snacks video. So let's get going. right, so I think I have my sketching completed now. I was getting a little fussy with it. I don't want to take forever just on the sketching because we have some inking to take care of. And I think the first thing I want to do, is use this ink as opposed to this pen. I want to do probably a pretty light wash to start. So I'm going to use my this dude right there, this little thing. I'm going to see if I can just water my ink down a little bit. I'll also be able to use this to move that out of the way while I'm in the process of opening this because my desk still has ink all over it. Okay. I can set the eyedropper on that. Actually, I could just set it on the tissue paper that came with the box. All right, is that going to roll away? And I think I'm just going to put my ink inside the box because I have already spilled things on my desk and splattered things. Actually, I got a little bit of ink on my Lobo comic while I was looking at reference pictures. I am salty about that. It was just on the ad on the back, but still, got ink on my pristine Lobo comic. So, with our drop cloth here, so I don't ink up my desk any more than I already have, I think I'm gonna go ahead and do this ink wash. Alright, I took a little break to eat some raviolis, and now we are coming back to hopefully, well, definitely a nice and dry base layer, I guess. I think we're a little bit past the base layer. I think that this ink, this is really nice to work with because you probably saw, you can still manipulate it a little bit. Once you've got one stroke down, you can still get your brush wet, spread it around a little bit. So it does, like I was saying earlier, kind of have that property of gouache where you have the water solubility of watercolor, but the thickness of acrylic and just the ease of blending. So I like this ink quite a bit. I might go in with a little bit more. I am gonna actually jump into some of our red next, because that's also going to be kind of a light wash kind of thing. I don't know if I'm going to make... my idea is to have red in the background here. I don't know if I want to do that just yet. If maybe going in with the ink afterwards is going to cause some problems. I do know I'm going to go in with this pen last. But I'm going to jump in with this. Maybe... You know what? I think I'll just do the background. I'll do everything red, and then if I need to go darker with any of the ink, I will do that. So I have the red added in, and I feel like what I want to do next is I actually want to do some of this, because I think I need some higher contrast, and then from there I'll decide if I want to go more in depth with our ink, or if I need to do any more with the red, because I think right now the red is looking a little uneven. I might need to just wait for this to dry a little bit more, because I did pause and let everything dry for a bit between filming, but I think it needed a little bit longer. So I'm going to go in with our pen, and I'm going to see how that helps our contrast. Okay, so I think my brush wasn't cleaned all the way, or I just need to replace my water. You know what, give me a second. I'm gonna clean my water. Okay, clean water acquired. But that also might have been my brush not being clean enough. Let me see. Okay, yeah, I just wiped that off on some... Look here, I can wipe it right there. And you can see there's still a lot of ink on that brush. A lot of ink coming off of that. So, alright, how do I fix that? Sometimes it's better to be consistent than be perfect. Can I... Oh, actually that background's looking much redder now. Let me think. Since we've already got the black there, and it's, I think, going to be a bigger pain to cover it up, let's see if we can't just add... I need a little more red than that. Okay. Or a little more black. A little more black. Let's see. Because consistent's better than perfect sometimes. If you can't be perfect, which we never really can... Can I make that look good and not look like a hot mess? That, I don't know, that looks like does that look like I did it on purpose, or does that look like I'm trying to cover up a big old whoops like I am? I think I'm going to wait a little bit to do any more work because you can see I've got some ink that needs to dry. I went in with the dropper thing to get some nice thick lines. I'm definitely thinking I'm almost done, but I want to just maybe add a little bit more shading with our ink before I call it good. But sometimes I just get obsessive over things, and I'll be just sitting here for hours trying to decide what to do. And I don't necessarily want to do that because it's very easy to overwork your piece. So I'm going to let this dry and then I will be back. What else I would want to do. Sometimes I can figure out if anything needs to be done maybe after filming. I'll look at it and be like, oh, I can touch a little bit up. But right now, my statement is that if I keep working, I'm eventually just going to mess it up. So I am going to call it good. I could erase a little bit of the pencil marks. I want to be a little bit careful about doing that around there because I'm probably gonna do some smearing by accident. I wish this arm looked more obviously foreshortened instead of it looking like he has one really small arm, which even saw me go in and erase it and try to redo it, and I don't know if that quite got what I was going for. I wanted it to be really dark to look like it was receding into the background. I don't know if I totally got my foreshortening right. But overall, I think this is a pretty badass Lobo. So, just to review the Art Snack supplies that we used, we have the brush, we've got the water-soluble Scarlet pencil, we have our Plum Chester brush pen, And we have the acrylic ink. This was really fun to experiment with. I'm definitely going to be using this a lot more in the future. And other things that I used that weren't in the box, they were both things that have been in Art Snacks boxes. We have this mechanical pencil, and then I also got this ruler in a previous Art Snacks box, and this has actually showed up in a couple of videos, so that has proved to be very useful. So I gonna sign it. I am gonna call this finished, except for maybe a couple little maybe touch-up jobs off camera. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching my process. I hope you guys were also inspired maybe to create some very badass art. So like, comment, subscribe, do all of the YouTube things, and I will see you in the next episode.